Hey everybody, thanks for checking out episode number 2 of Creative Conduit. I had a great conversation with one of my dear friends, Cody Ratley. We've been friends for almost a decade now, which is crazy to think about. And through that time, he's been a big inspiration to me. You know, he's an incredible musician, great drummer, great recording engineer, great guitar player, and just kind of watching him and all his different projects over the years has been inspiring. And now recently playing in bands with him is a whole new level, and it feels great to finally play in bands with him. It's a long time coming. I'm going to spare you a lot of talking up front here. We get into quite a few things, and he touches on a lot of points that, I connected with, and hopefully you will too. So I'm going to play a clip of a Shamewave track here, and then we'll get into the conversation. Cody Ratley in the flesh, live from the Yellow Room. How you doing tonight?
Hello, hell. Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. So I know you quite well, but that might not be the case for everybody. So if you just want to take a few moments, let everybody know who you are, what kind of music projects you're doing, and anything else you want to say about yourself.
So my name is Cody Ratley in the flesh. I like to call this Yellow Hell. It's my little studio room at home. Normally, I have a practice space, but we're quarantined away from that right now, so I can't access the gear that I would like to access currently, although it is being kept safe by a night watchman, so that makes me feel great. I'm currently, my main focus right now is Shamewave, which is my band, with you, obviously. You're wearing the hoodie, and
I got it for free.
Did you? No, I charged you cost.
Whatever, dude.
It's like $16. It might as well have been free. But it's like shoegaze, but over time I think it's just going to be an everything band. I just want to make as much music as possible, and just it doesn't have to have a certain style. And then we do cover bands together. The Brecken Miles band. Hopefully we'll be hitting the road come 2021.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then Field Trip, which is something that's so exciting to me. Just I really would love to just keep that rolling. And we know a lot of songs, so covering our 2000s and 90s songs. Heavy on the 90s. I guess the 2000s too.
Yeah, little everything, but yeah,
Township
I mean
too.
Yeah, writing some tunes together. Why not? I mean, we've known each other for what, almost
7-8 years?
Probably 8 years. Yeah. You recorded the very first Township EP, and that wasn't the first time we met, but that's when we became friends.
Yeah, that was definitely not the first time we met, but yeah, that was like when we bonded for sure over some really lengthy recording process. Many trips to the mall.
Totally focused. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, I know a little bit of your background, but not a ton of it. When did you really start getting into music and like playing it?
It was immediately because my dad is a drummer, and he had, like a double bass drum, red lacquer finish, like Ludwig drum set with 8 toms, maybe more, roto toms. And he just loved Ozzy. He loved Rush. He just, that's how it kind of started. He got me a Slingerland kit, and just took it away from there. I was in my dad's basement. Crystal Lake, Illinois is kind of where I started from, and yeah.
So what kind of music were you playing when you first started? Like what was the first kind of record that you were drumming along to?
It was probably Ozzy, to be honest. That's probably what I started playing first. Before I got into kind of, I would call it new metal, like Linkin Park started coming out. Even like Kid Rock was one of my first like artists that I really liked. Like I had
Hell
the
yeah.
CD with the middle finger on the disc, and but before that, my dad was showing me the intro fill to Bark at the Moon,
Nice.
and I was just ripping that with the single bass drum pedal.
You gotta. Was there any pressure from him to have you pick up the drums, or was it just kind of you saw that and you wanted to do it?
I don't even remember having any pressure because before I could even remember anything, I was on the drums. So it was just like, this is who you are.
Yeah, and it works. So when did you start your first band?
Oh God. Does first band count as a gigging band, or does it just count as anybody playing music together?
As long as it had a name, preferably a bad name, which I would like to hear as well.
Okay, so in the beginning of high school, I was friends with my friend Shane Dieter, and we just played like guitar together, and I played drums, and he was learning that, and we met up with our friend Aaron, who went to the same school as us, and we met Alex through Aaron. Basically, they were in like youth group together, and then we all ended up going to high school together, and we started a band like freshman or sophomore year called Fifth Grade is on Fire, because I had a t-shirt from fifth grade. You know, like at the end of a school year, everybody like somebody makes a shirt design, and then they make like the design for that class.
Yeah.
And it said Fifth Grade is on Fire, and it was just like a flame outline with all our signatures in the middle, and
that's incredible.
That's what we decided to name the band. And basically we practiced like 10 times total, and usually we just did like crazy antics.
You gotta.
I got a funny video too that I can send you.
I would love to see it.
It just showed up on my Facebook feed.
That's always the best. So, A Place for the End, was that the first like big time band, or at least band that got out there and did something?
That was my first band that consistently played shows, definitely. I was in a band called Ignatus before that, and we played like 3 shows. But A Place for the End, when I met David and Peter, that was like the defining moment in me being in bands and like knowing how to get out there and do the local scene, no matter what type of music it was.
Yeah. And was that kind of like the, I don't know, technical metal, deathcore? Was that the kind of stuff you were listening to primarily back then?
Definitely was. Yeah, I was definitely into those type of bands, you know, After the Burial. Veil of Maya was huge, you know. I didn't get into certain bands till later, but like The Contortionist, that came like a little, that was around that time.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Also, Pangea, I just listened to their like 9-minute song, and that thing rips.
Yeah, those guys are absolute
Survivor's
monsters. Guild. Yep. Great track. Hoping to have some of those boys on here as well too. So in high school, when you're listening to that kind of music, was there like a big group of people that like that, or were you kind of like the musical outcast that like, oh, Cody is the one that listens to that weird devil music?
It was definitely an outcast thing, but I was introduced to it when I was a freshman. I met a junior in high school that was really cool, like really cool guitar, played like really cool metalcore guitar riffs, and introduced me to Misery Signals, After the Burial, Veil of Maya, Immure, like all of that stuff. And after he graduated, there wasn't a lot of people that listened to like that type of music, but there was a cool person that I bonded with that showed me crazy music like slam bands and Waking the Cadaver, and like was totally out there.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
It's always a cool bonding moment when somebody shows you something wacky like that. Like, I remember I was in an English class, and these two, Matt and Nick, they were twins. They both liked heavy music too. And for some reason, one of them had mentioned Waking the Cadaver, and like my ears just perked up. I was like, cool. Just
the name alone, strikes you as something totally just different, you know.
And that snare drum, nothing like it.
Just it's just a ping that'll take you straight to the moon.
So obviously you're a great drummer. When did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar when I was about 10. My dad, for my birthday, bought me a Marshall combo amp and a Cort guitar. It had a Floyd Rose. It's my first guitar. It had a Floyd Rose.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But also badass.
Thank God I'm still here, you know?
Yeah, persevered.
We made it through.
So did you kind of, like when you started drumming in bands, did guitar kind of fall to the wayside a little bit?
It was always a mixture. It's always been kind of like, it's hard to find that 50-50 balance, but it's always one more than the other, but either or is still there. And thankfully for that, I've been able to keep a decent guitar structure. Because drums usually take the priority. In quarantine, it's guitar.
Yeah, I had the same conversation with Julian. Just like convenience factor for guitar is so much higher. Like you can sit in your bedroom and play guitar when you're a kid. Like in this apartment, I can crank my guitar in my headphones. Could never have a drum set. So, but
even E-drums get a little loud.
Exactly. But I definitely find, like, obviously playing more than just one instrument, songwriting is, like, so much easier for that. So, like, when you approach a song, I'm assuming guitar comes first before drums, like most people, but kind of, like, what's the factor, or, like, what gets you started on a song?
Actually, usually in my mind, it's a drum beat that'll start my song. Sometimes I record songs drums first.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I do them bass first, actually, because like I like a heavy bass melody.
Yeah.
It's actually just totally a wash, but like a lot of times when I'm like out and about doing whatever, drums come first in my head, like, and then I try to make like a guitar riff over that or something.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm the opposite, but I can see. Cheers. But yeah, that totally makes sense too. Just kind of whatever idea hits first and just run with that. So do you usually have song ideas just come to you, or do you have to like sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a song? Like what usually ends up happening for you?
It has to be spur of the moment for the most part. Like it just has to, just has to be in my head or in my brain or something. Or like I'll just pick up a guitar and be like, that sounds cool. Yeah. And then it just becomes something within a couple hours. Like I'll have a song finished. If I have to try and focus on a song for more than like, I don't know, I guess it just depends, because I've been working on a little song project right now for the past like 2-3 days.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same riff over and over again, so just like one of those songs.
Yeah. Well, I feel like sometimes when you hit a certain point of slamming your head into the wall trying to finish a song, it might be a sign that it's just, if it's that hard to write, it might not be worth someone else listening to.
Worth the time. Or just like if you can't make it past a part in your song, just stop and go work on something else. Also, an alternative to that, and something I'm waiting for in the mail very eagerly, is a pack of cards called Oblique Strategies. And Oblique Strategies is a deck of cards made by Brian Eno and a painter, Peter Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
And you just draw one random card out of the deck, and it's supposed to help you out of like a creative dilemma. It just says, it gives you like just a sentence of advice, maybe something that just like sparks you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do something else. And
you'll just send me a link to that. There's an app too?
Yeah, there's an app. It's like a couple bucks.
That sounds awesome though.
Yeah, check it out. The deck of cards is actually pretty expensive. I paid about $90 for my deck of cards.
I will get the app. Yeah, pretty good. So as far as inspiration goes, where do you usually find inspiration? Is it just listening to other songs, or like anything visual out of the ordinary?
It's usually other artists. It's usually audible things that, obviously, because I'm an audible artist, kind of a visual artist. I like editing, photography, and the Glitch app. But, Yeah, it's usually songs that just get me super moved and inspired. It's just crazy how emotional you can feel from just audio. And it can be visual too, but it's mostly audio.
So when you hear something that like moves you like that, how do you change that into writing your own thing? Like how do you walk that line between like using it for inspiration and then like not copying it but like borrowing from it?
I don't know. I would say it can't be explained with words, but don't just copy something. Just make something that makes you feel the same way as that felt.
Yeah.
Or totally just something that plays off that feeling. It doesn't have to be the same feeling, but music is about feeling to me.
Exactly.
Obviously, probably to most people.
So you kind of analyze that feeling and then you try to get yourself there with your own. That's definitely something I do. Like I'm not thinking that actively that I'm doing it, but that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So, is there any pieces of gear that you play and just spark like inspiration? You just hit a couple chords or play whatever and it just something takes off from there.
Lately it's definitely been the mini log. It's next to me but you can't see it. And it's also been the loomer pedal. The reverbs within the loomer pedal I think are very inspiring. And coupled with different pedals, like just a nice little delay or even double reverbed,
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty cool.
Do you have the log hooked up right now? Yeah, pick a patch or something that you write off of and just give us a couple chords.
Something like nice like that. Different octaves.
Yeah, nice and soft, not too harsh.
Yeah, and a lot of times I use the mini log for vocal melodies too.
Yeah, I've been starting to get into that too and just kind of finding my range like on a keyboard and using that to write instead of trying to sing it like a grown-up. But
to the right I actually have a MIDI controller. Well, I guess it might be your left in the video, but this way is my MIDI controller. And yeah, I've been using that with a lot of virtual synths and stuff like that too, and that's really nice.
Which programs do you use for that?
Nikki got me on the Korg ones, so like the Wave Station is really nice.
Yeah, I have a free version of that with the new MIDI controller I got, so I'm gonna have to get on that.
What else is there? I mean, there's
like in the program and on the mini log, like how in depth are you getting editing those sounds, or is it just kind of like you take a preset and kind of go off of that?
In the mini log, you're asking? I would say usually I've never used a preset. I'll like just pick a number that I know I don't care about and just edit it to whatever, and just till I find something that just clicks.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot locked away in those things behind just turning the right knobs and trying to get the language of like which filter to change and like the attack and sustain. As a guitar player, like those settings are just foreign to me. But
waveform editing, you're just editing a waveform and it shows you on the screen oscillator like what you're doing at the same time, which is crazy.
And then you have your guitar stuff hooked up, right?
Yeah, I got my guitar right here.
Place a couple chords with the loomer reverb. Which patch on that pedal do you usually use?
I got it because of the reverse setting, which it just does like a tremolo effect, and it's technically a delay, although it's marketed as a reverb. But I use the focus more.
Yeah, that's a
the
great
focus
one.
is just a beautiful. Yeah, it's just a beautiful patch. And
I mean, it sounds terrible through the our setup right now, but I'm sure it sounds lovely.
I'm sure we'll edit it in.
We'll fix that in post. Beautiful. So when you're writing something on guitar, like what's your starting process? Like for me, I kind of find a chord that I don't know the name of because I'm a child and just kind of start there. What about you?
That's basically it too. Yeah, just a no-name chord that I'm sure some people would know the exact name of that chord. Names need not be mentioned. But yeah, it just comes as a chord, and then you kind of just play off certain notes of that chord and just do little variations. Whatever. It's all about the feeling, right? So it's just move it from there.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good way to do it instead of thinking of a progression and staying there, just kind of playing whatever chord feels next and just rolling with that.
Yeah, and in previous days, like metal days, it used to be riffs. We never played chords. We played some chords, but they were minimal.
Yeah.
Now it's like using chords as a song to either pick the individual notes of the chord or just play the chord and lead over it.
So when you're in the market for a new pedal, a new synth, whatever, guitar, like what are some things that you look for?
I guess I never branch out and really just like look for new stuff. I usually go off of recommendations and what people tell me, or if I hear something, firsthand. But it's usually recommendations. So it's hard to answer that one.
Yeah. Just kind of whatever sounds good. And I mean, most pedals and synths and everything, like you can manipulate enough to where like if you can't find a good setting on there, like chances are somebody wouldn't have recommended to you. Like you kind of got to work the pedal or whatever to what you want it to do.
Yeah, you can almost get something totally different to sound like something else nowadays with, how much stuff is readily available to each and every one of us.
So let's talk, definitely not as exciting, but let's talk drum gear a little bit.
Okay.
So, you use stranger sized toms than a lot of my drummer friends. So when you made that choice for the huge floor tom, what kind of drove that decision?
That drum set, I have a Tama Star Classic Babinga kit where the kick drum and the floor tom are made of Babinga, and my snare is a Pearl Masters, so it's totally different. But the high toms are maple. And I had gone through a series of mediocre drum sets at that point, and I was in Music Around and I saw this beautiful kit. It was like a 4-piece, 5-piece kit, and it was a fair price. It was like $1,200 or $1,000, and I was like, finally, I can get like a nice drum set. And also, just being in Music Around at the time, I was there so much that I knew the employees, and they were always kind of like looking out for me and just saying like, hey, you should try this. Like, kind of know what you like, and they always did that stuff for me. That's how I buy stuff, is recommendations. And it was a lot of times from Music Around employees. So I bought it because of them, and I ended up just loving it so much that I've only bought one drum set since, and I sold it, and it was that pearl white Tama Star Classic Birch kit.
I love that kit.
But the 18-inch floor tom on the Babinga kit, just, I don't know. I took a risk getting it, but it really has paid off. I think it just sounds insane.
Yeah, there's something about a 12-inch high tom and then the jump all the way to 18, like the fills, especially like because one of the bands we play in, Brecken Miles Band, I play guitar, Cody plays drums, and we're playing some stages with some bigger sound systems, and like when he finishes a fill on the 18-inch floor tom, it's just like the room shakes.
Do you like it?
I like it, yeah. I don't think the sound guys like it too much, but
it takes a lot of filtering on that floor tom. When I mic up that floor tom and I record my live drums, huge mid cut, and a lot at like 2K hertz. That's usually like the big, and the cymbal bleed is really bad. Honestly, it's a nightmare to mic up that floor tom, but it can sound huge.
So going into that, when did you start recording?
think I was 13, 12, 13, probably 13.
Yeah. And you kind of started just like writing your own songs that way?
That's the only thing I could do at the time. I mean, I was so young. Like, what else was I supposed to do besides I would cover songs. I would try to do like covers, and that actually taught me a lot of how to record. Even later on too, when I went into the digital world, because I started on a Tascam tape recorder. That was the first thing I owned, and I had a knockoff SM58. I would put that microphone in between my snare and my kick, and I would just record drums like that.
Yeah. I did a similar thing at that age, and like getting the ability to write a song with yourself playing the instruments, like I feel like that gave us a huge step, like in songwriting and playing all together.
Yeah, at a young age like that, like most people don't get to do that.
So you did a lot more recording in your early 20s. Like, how much are you doing now?
Very minimal. I choose not to record other artists except for very special projects for friends. Usually ends up being hardcore bands, and I'm okay with that because some of them slam. But it's not my preferred music to record. In fact, I only like to record myself now, and myself includes my bands that I'm in, obviously. So that include you.
So let's see.
What's your favorite beverage?
My favorite beverage?
Dr. Pepper Diet.
Burns the throat, rots the teeth,
heals the soul.
So I think one big thing that we haven't touched on yet, like in the inspiration field, is like I feel like in our friend group, there's a lot of inspiration like throughout the group. Like you'll send me a Shamewave song you're working on, and it'll put me in a certain mood, and then I'll go write something on my own, and I just feel like there's a big like circle of that going around. So just the fact that like inspiration can like happen that way too, I think is awesome.
That's news to me, and I'm really happy to hear that, honestly, because I didn't know that you would like write a song like basically after I sent you some music that I was working on.
I mean, I would change a couple of the chords, but
well, I didn't know you were copying my songs. No, but like that's awesome, and that's something that's probably gonna stick in my mind now. Is just a friend group of musicians just circling off each other and taking their own style and adding it to something that they like to hear. You know.
Well, Cody, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. I learned a little bit about you that I didn't know, and I feel like we're closer now, closer than ever.
Yeah, I mean, physically we're pretty far apart, but mentally we're very close, and I'm glad that you're my friend, and I'm really happy to be a part of this, and I want to be a part of it again. Yeah. And we'll make it grow into something that's beautiful. I would love that. So make sure you guys check out Shamewave. Where's the best place to find Shamewave? Facebook and Spotify. All the social medias. Spotify is a good place to look. Facebook, obviously, just search Shamewave, and Bandcamp, shamewave.bandcamp.com. And I can plug that because I didn't write the music. I just play in the band, so I feel like I can shamelessly promote the hell out of that. That's why I wear the sweatshirt every day. Yeah, and make sure when gigs come back, check out Shamewave, check out Field Trip when we start playing, check out the Breck and Miles band, and just see Cody and I. Check out Township. Yeah, check us out. Listening, please.